The full time, it is full time from the Momo military grounds, and UPDF have lost this game after getting a 2-0 win over Bull Football Club. They have managed to lose this one over Viper Sports Club. Livingston Mulondo with the goal in the first half is what has separated the two sides, and Leo Neva collects the 3 points heading back to St. Mary's Stadium in Chitende with all the 3 points in the bag, and probably a big fight there from the game that we have just witnessed, an early kickoff and a wrap-up of match day 9 of the StarTimes Uganda Premier League. But it is 3 points for Viper Sports Club, and probably they'll be looking forward to their next game with a positive result from this game. Tendo, what a game we've had, particularly with the second half.
Yeah, incredible fight there by UPDF, and of course resilience by Vipers. Yeah. Eventually they managed to grind out that result, which I think has been envisaged in blood, sweat and tears. You've seen a lot of physicality, you've seen a lot of animation, and of course strong mentality from all the players. Everybody on the pitch got a knock somewhere, and they still continued. In that rain, you think professionally, they all managed themselves well, especially players like Brighton Ukani. I wouldn't expect to actually put in that fight like he did. He played his part so much that even the introduction of Marvin Youngman did not even put in the difference there. Abdul Umara, I wouldn't expect also to fight that much, but they eventually did fight. But I think the turning point was the choice of substitution, like we had talked about. The left wing there had been a precarious situation for Vipers, as UPDF tried to do all the things. Bringing in Ashraf Mandela rectified that. Then, of course, the choice of the substitution for the forward is the one that created actually more pressure. I wouldn't have thought that Kambale would have been the one sacrificed instantly. Then the choice would have been either Milton or Abdul Umara. So I think having sorted the other part, this other part remained vibrant, because still Mwanga stayed coming on and delivering the crosses on the right from the right side of the three-man defense. If Kambale had stayed and another forward brought on, they would have maintained that, but the pressure kept on, and UPDF kept piling the pressure, and they resisted a few nervy moments where I thought the referee actually had a lot of soul searching to make. We'll have to see a lot of things in those replays to see where I actually could have done a different thing. UPDF also feeling hard done by with a few decisions, but at the end of the day, probably it was a good game. Roderick Shamamba there missing where it was easier to score than to miss. And then, of course, that nervy moment where Tebandeke, having been suffocated on the right, started coming in the middle and gotten a shot there which kissed the crossbar, and probably that would have no answer from Komakechi had not seen it. After so many falls he had gotten and still stayed on. Generally everyone performed very well, apart from the aspect that I noted that with Vuni half injured and Agre Kiria on a yellow card, anything would have had them get sent off.
So was the substitutions right for you from the second half? Do you think that Leoneva studied the game well and knew exactly what to do in the second half?
He knew exactly what to do, but his choice of putting off Kambale put more pressure on them. The person the second person I would have thought would have been either Lumara or Milton, because they are the ones who were mispositioned in the first setup. So putting off Kambale pushed Lumara up front or Yunus up front, which wasn't going to work, because they were not going to do that, pegging back the defenders, and that is why the pressure kept piling, because an extra defender started moving, and then in the middle they were not doing the numbers very well. So I think that is what put the pressure, but eventually the other substitutions were formalities. You wouldn't expect Shamamba to change anything in that game at that moment, or even Marvin Youngman. He has been off for quite a while. He just came on to maybe test.
Marvin Youngman did not look fresh in the game. He looked like he was lacking a bit of fitness, a bit of awareness in the game. Do you think that shows that he's not necessarily ready for a game, a full game in the UPL?
Yeah, I think he hasn't really had his time at Vipers enjoyable for any reason, probably injuries and not getting the playing time when he feels that he's fresh enough, always getting the time when he has to play second fiddle, and I think it kills the confidence of a player sometimes. Maybe he wasn't mentally ready for a team like Vipers, having had a good time at Bright Stars. If he had stayed at Bright Stars, he would have been a different player from what he is now. But at Vipers, everything is a pressure game. You don't have that time to bring back your game. You see how Lumala has transformed himself. Shamamba there trying to put in a fight. Even Fumada Osome. And in the process, they have actually even reached a point of risking themselves. Fumado almost gave away a penalty. Shamamba nearly skinned the player in a defensive position where you think that he wasn't used to that. So the pressure is there, and you think that Marvin Youngman came a little earlier out of Bright Stars. Yes, that is one of those decisions you will regret as a player, putting money aside.
These are some of the moments here for UPDF. I mean, some clever player here on the right wing, and the ball comes in from a cross, but the problem is the decision making, and probably in terms of the finish.
Yeah, that is Shugai, one of those good young players, choosing to shoot, because he has been among the goals recently, got man of the match in the game against Bull. So you think that he was thinking that it's his day. Anytime, if you score against a Bull goalkeeper, you would think that you can score against Jack Comakech, because equally they are big sides. So I think the decision there was wrong. Probably could have looked for a free player. But at that moment, everyone is looking to be a hero. That is why you saw every moment people are trying to shoot.
Was that the problem for UPDF in the second half, that everyone was trying their luck instead of trying to make it together as a team?
Yeah, eventually they became so many on the pitch going forward. The same situation you saw Vipers having when KCC was leading them. So when you are many players, the usual shape you are used to doesn't work.
Look at this tackle here from
very bad challenge from Agre Chiria. Mistimed, of course. He didn't intend to foul the player. He wanted to take the ball, but Fuedo got the ball before him, and that was bound to happen. I had told you, with a player in the UPDF defense with the back three on a yellow card, and then Bright Vuni not on strong feet, it was always going to be Agre Chiria going for those 50-50 challenges.
I'm looking at this. His left leg here, Tendo, that went up.
Yeah, in that situation, you know, the first person on the ball is the winner. And in football, actually, for a forward or a midfielder, you have to be the first on the ball. Actually, even that theory can be applied for a defender. If you tap the ball first, you have saved your team a lot. The first person to get the ball has the advantage, and Agre Chiria was late. If he had taken the ball, it would have been a very good tackle, and it would have gained advantage for them.
Do you think that was the right decision for him to probably make that tackle, because there was a lot of space behind him and probably some time for him to recover and get the ball off?
For him, there was no way, and I always tell you, the moment a defender chooses to go on the ground, he has given up. That is the last throw. We call it the chain. You have thrown the chain. You cannot gather the chain back and come. You are not a goalkeeper. Probably goalkeepers can come back. But if Fumado had gone now, the next person to defend would have been Vuni, who we saw playing on a dead leg. So the decision to control that...
there is another penalty shout here, Tendo. A slight push from Fumado in the box here.
Yeah, that if the referee had given that penalty, you wouldn't fault him. But again, you think that the player gave away the body so much.
Do you think that it came off momentum from Fumado?
Yeah, but it was, I would think it's a silly thing, because we normally know that strikers are not supposed to go in that area. And you are going facing your goal. What are you doing? He controlled the ball facing his goal. So he was attacking.
Attacking the wrong side?
Yeah, he was attacking the wrong side. So normally in old school football, you are not allowed. Just like defenders were always not recommended to cross the center, which eventually was wrong because some defenders are wiser. Yes. But strikers, when they come in the box or near the box, they are the most stupid creatures. Even Shamamba went there and created a foul. I've seen many strikers. You name all the teams when strikers come to defend, unless it's a corner kick, but even during a corner, you can actually fail to connect with the ball.
Shamamba here, he had a chance to make it 2-0 and probably open his scoring account for Viper Sports Club in this moment. And you mentioned it. He celebrated.
Before connecting the ball. I think it was easier to score than to miss. But look at that situation. Good save eventually from Simon Mabuya.
The keeper there for coming
a very good save. He spread his body very well. But in that situation, Shamamba could have done anything. Clipped the ball over the keeper or even held it and won a penalty because Mabuya was not going to save that in that situation, diving situation. So I think he didn't use his brain harder. And sometimes those situations happen in such weather. You see the reckless challenges everyone's putting up. At that moment, the ball is haywire.
And here, this chance here in the 91st minute, the shot comes in 22 meters away from goal, and
there was no answer. Nobody had an answer. The miss by the player here in the middle before it went to Tebandeke looked like a zero touch, but it was a miss and it hit everyone off. Look at that miss there. It looked like a zero touch. Yeah, it wasn't intended, but it put everyone was anticipating him to shoot.
Yes.
So eventually it fell to Tebandeke and nobody had an answer. Unfortunately, he couldn't put it a little lower than the crossbar, which it kissed.
Yes, and those are some of the key moments of the game, Tendo, and probably Vipers must be very happy with collecting the 3 points because their next game is going to be against Chitara. They are going to be hosting Chitara at St. Mary's Chitende.
Yeah, it is a little easier, by the way, having seen how Chitara played on the turf in Njeru. I don't think they are so used to the turf. That would be their second game. You saw how Bull beat them on the turf. So I think Vipers, if they can recuperate earlier, that would be an easier game. But the challenge now is how to make the team, because you cannot gamble on selection with a team like Chitara. Like the way they handled this game, having Milton on the left as a wing back, and then Abdulumala on the right, and then eventually putting the game.
You expect them to go back to their usual formation with the back four in that game?
I would expect, but you see, there was no Issa Mubiru in the team.
Yes.
He's the only left-sided player who would have created balance. And then Richard Matovu played on even after that injury to the hand. So I think they don't have so many options on the left. So the eventual thing they will do is to go back to the back four, because we know Chitara to have potent strikers, 3 of them. It is not like UPDF where you would expect only 1 striker and the others midfielders. I think it was eventually calculated for this game to have many midfielders in the Vipers team to tackle the threat that UPDF has. But it's the opposite for Kitara. Kitara has less midfielders. You would expect at most 3 of them, and 1 of them could be Zaga coming back home, and then the other Muchurezi. You expect them to be a little animated, but not combative and outnumbering like UPDF was. Yes. So the biggest challenge is in the force going forward, where you could expect Omedi, Senkava, Brian Ahewa, and the like. So I think they have to go back to the back 4 by hook or crook, and it has represented itself well. Rogers Storach had a good game. Livingstone Mulondo with the goal again. I talked about it. He has always been the person not failing to make games because of the others not being around, and he has taken the chance with Aplom. Since he came, C4 has been a match winner in most situations, and that goal, I think, gives him a lot more confidence. Yes. So the pairing of him and Torach can actually keep on, and Mboa would be back probably to help Siraji Sentamu in the middle. So I think they have the numbers there.
Yes, and UPDF's next game, they'll be hosting, they'll be going away to Gaddafi, and after that they'll be going to Mbara City. I mean, that is another army derby for UPDF Football Club.
UPDF, Gaddafi, similar pitches, Gaddafi Arena. I think that will be friendly fire for them. We saw how Gaddafi handled the neck game. Those are games Gaddafi has to wake up from, that defeat against KCC, where I think so many things were haywire. The goalkeeper, Sekandi, and then the reserve goalkeeper, Ocheng, in quotes, Ocheng, who was playing forward in the other season for Busoga. It was a lot of sarcasm. He was a
forward for Busoga last season. I mean, football is crazy. Football is crazy, tell me. Football is crazy indeed.
I think they're having a challenge with their goalkeeping department. So you think that
hopefully
maybe they'll sort it out and they have to come back. They played a good game. I liked Sharif Sengendo, Odong, and then Amir Kaka. They play some good football. And of course, Muhindo looked so good, different from the Muhindo we used to know. He created a lot of chances and all that. So I think UPDF now have it all, because they are the senior side to Gaddafi in the AME rankings. So probably they can have a lot of questions to get back to their winning form.
All right. Well, that wraps up the end of match day 9 for the StarTimes Uganda Premier League. A win for Viper Sports Club over UPDF Football Club at the Bombo Military Grounds for this early afternoon kickoff. And that wraps up all the action we do have for the StarTimes Uganda Premier League. We shall be back with, of course, match day 10 next week with so many fixtures. But before we sign out, there is, of course, a show at exactly 10 p.m. The Goal, where we shall be reviewing all the footballing action in Uganda. Joining me on set is, of course, going to be Gordon Bule and James Lukenge as the host. We shall be wrapping up all the action in Uganda and, of course, outside Uganda, including the Crested Cranes going out playing friendly over Morocco, and, of course, the women bonanza that did happen just recently. So much action to be reviewed at exactly 10 p.m. See you tonight.